Today I have the enormous pleasure of spending some time with Jess Byers. Jess has been an Elancé student for around 8 years now, and her journey has been thoroughly interesting. I've had the great privilege of sharing a good part of that with her. I can tell you from a ballet teacher's perspective, I really admire Jess's work ethic, the wonderful focus and artistry that she brings to every single class. It's a joy to have her there. So Jess, welcome. Welcome to the inaugural episode of Barre Talk. It's so kind of you to do this.
Not at all, and so generous for you to think and invite me to take part.
So let's start with the easy things, because we're sitting in a ballet studio. In fact, you were at the bar doing class with me yesterday. Did you do ballet as a child?
I did, yes.
Yeah, how long did you do it for?
So I started classical ballet, but then the standard idea of doing jazz and tap as well at about 7 or 8 years of age. Initially just starting with your kind of standard exam style classes, and after a couple of years I then moved on to include troupes, dancing in groups, choreography. Really? In hindsight, I guess I felt the pressure of you either decided to continue and pursue dancing as a career in some shape or form, or
was that in your heart at the time that dancing could have formed a career for you?
I would have loved the idea of that, but I never felt good enough.
What was it that drew you back to doing ballet as an adult?
Even though I never felt particularly skilled in classical ballet, I always loved it. I love the the routine of it. I like that there's a kind of a suite of steps and compositions that you can work through.
There's a lot of rules.
Lots of rules. Although, yeah, and I do like rules, but then there's that room to move within them. There's space. I think I returned very much with the mindset that this is going to be difficult, physically demanding, and I think I was just tried to be kind to myself to make sure that I didn't enter that first class expecting it to feel like it used to feel.
I'm so glad to hear that. But that's exactly how I counsel new students coming into the school if they have prior ballet training. Yeah. It's that importance of being kind to yourself, and you can't possibly expect your body to do what it used to do. You're operating on an entirely different body.
That's right.
As an adult, everything has changed, and you have to find a new place to be as an adult dancer, and a new place to work from. And I know a lot of people that come back to ballet as an adult, particularly those who had a number of years of training, they can often have a bit of baggage that
absolutely
that they bring back with them. Is that something you felt?
Yeah, definitely. I didn't dance for particularly long, but as I said, the reasons I guess for stopping were probably part of my baggage. That as an adult now, I'm a little sad that whether it was my own expectations or I felt them from somewhere, this idea that you couldn't just continue to do classes for the joy of doing classes.
Let's talk about you today, who you are and what you do.
What I do? Well, this is something that's also been evolving in the last few years. So technically, I've trained and am still a registered psychologist. Sort of 10 or plus years of my career has been working with clients in various sort of health settings. So hospitals where people are recovering from orthopaedic surgery, helping people to manage chronic pain. Fertility treatment clinics is another place, working with people who have dementia and their families. So anything that's about, my work has all been about helping people, I guess, to live their best life despite whatever else might be going on for them, and helping to overcome those challenges that life has brought them. So I moved into research, so still in psychological health and well-being, but I was fortunate enough to find a little opening where someone would give me a chance, even though I didn't have any expertise, work-based expertise in research. And I'm still doing it now, and I'm coordinating a big Australia-wide research project in particularly with older adults who live in aged care facilities, and helping to promote their well-being by making sure that they have true choice and control over their day-to-day lives.
So let's just take this on a slightly different direction. You would have essentially become a patient at some point years ago, because one thing I do know about you, you were very open about at the time, is that you suffered a stroke as an adult. Tell us about that particular journey.
I think it's safe to say it's one of the most bizarre experiences.
How old were you at the time?
31. So in April it'll be 6 years ago. It was a strange scenario. I had been unwell for about 2 weeks. So I say unwell, but I thought I had a virus. I had headaches on and off for those 2 weeks, and just that general sense of I didn't feel right. I then happened to be at a work dinner trying to eat and socialise and all those sorts of things, and I felt all right. But then towards the end of the evening, I was trying to place my spoon back onto my plate, and I couldn't quite get it to sit right, and I tried about 3 or 4 times to place it down and gave up in the end. And then my headache flared that I'd already had, and I then started to feel a bit disconnected from the room. And I turned to my friend next to me and tried to explain that I felt odd, that I wasn't feeling quite right. And I had the words in my brain, but I couldn't express them. So I just couldn't actually physically form the words. And then in that moment, I thought, oh dear, this is very not right. And yeah, so then I drove myself to the closest emergency department. I know. Not the smartest thing in hindsight. So I arrived there, and thankfully the staff were amazing. Not once did they make me feel silly for being there. I was given, based on what I described to them, I was given immediate priority, ran all their screens, all their checks. But at that stage we still didn't know. And it was the following morning, they performed an ultrasound to check carotid arteries for blockages, and then they found a fairly large significant clot in my left carotid. And again, staff were lovely, but I think the radiographer performing the procedure got quite a fright. Wasn't quite expecting to see that. And then I had to just sort of lay and wait while 3 or 4 other professionals came in to see what was happening.
And that's it.
And that's when it got scary. That's when it actually got quite terrifying.
So what was the obvious impact on your life? What happened at that point? Did you have to take time off work? Was there any surgery involved?
The immediate part was yes, no work. So I'd been to work the day before, and then it was immediately, you're not going to work at least for the next 2 to 4 weeks until we figure out exactly what's happening. Given the placement of the clot and my health and age and those sorts of things, they didn't want to do any surgery at this stage. So the plan was to use medications to try and break up the clot initially.
No, and I remember with ballet, you did take quite a bit of time.
Yeah, and it would have been about the same.
Of ballet, and then coming back into it was something that we had to take extremely slowly and carefully.
I was happy to and keen to, because I knew it was highly unlikely ballet would aggravate or cause any problems. But the doctors weren't quite so convinced. But I think that they had this professional idea of ballet and the amount of neck movement in terms of spotting and those sorts of things, and they were concerned about that. So and I had to explain that the level I was dancing at did not involve.
I'm not going to be doing 32 flettes.
No, we're okay. You helped me just to modify the classes so I could continue, because it wasn't something I was willing to stop.
It's been quite a journey, isn't it? But I think that's something that we work with everyone. Because again, everyone has stuff.
Yes, especially as adults, isn't it?
Completely, and it can, most of it can be worked around in the studio, and it's something I love doing. I think it makes me find new pathways as a teacher for helping individuals to get the very most that they possibly can.
Yeah, and I
out
think
of a class.
you and all the other teachers at Elancé do that beautifully. So
Oh, thank you.
matching, be it a temporary condition or just people's normal human bodies, making sure that people can get the most from their classes and continue to improve. You know, most of us are here to improve, not just go through the motions.
So you did have prior dance experience, but tell me what brought you back to ballet as an adult, or how we even crossed your path?
Yeah, good question. Even soon after I finished ballet, so as a teenager, I had always hoped to go back and, like I mentioned, just dance for the sake of dancing. So I think, you know, in the period of sort of 10 or 15 years, I tried a number of adult classes, usually just once, because they weren't what I was looking for. But the trouble was finding somewhere that matched what I was after and my needs. And I'm sure you're aware, and this is probably why you started Elancé, is most adult ballet classes are set within an existing school for children and young adults.
Yeah.
And this may be a little offensive, but I feel as though a lot of them are token classes for adults. I found that they either had limited opportunity for growth and development, so that you would be taken through a series of enchaînements but without any sort of critique or feedback about your technique and how you were progressing. Or the opposite end of the spectrum, where the level would be so advanced that again you couldn't keep up. And
I don't think there's anything worse than walking out of a class and going, why did I think I could do that again? I think that's the one thing that I would hate for anyone coming into the school. That it shouldn't be that experience of I'm not good enough.
Yes.
I wasn't good enough back then, and
I'm still not.
still not good enough. Yeah, no,
You know.
it really has to be something that is so enriching and uplifting.
Yeah, I mean, just the right amount of challenge, you know.
Just the right amount, and just the right amount of your teacher yelling at you.
Exactly. And I think it was just luck. You know, eventually, I can't even remember how, but somehow stumbled across Elancé.
I'm so glad you did.
So am I.
It's like you're part of the family now.
I really feel that, especially in particular over the last few years.
Yeah.
I've become more regular in the type and the time of the classes that I attend and have been able to build.
Yeah, how many classes are you doing a week now?
Embarrassingly, 4. And one of those is a double on Saturdays, firstly with you and then...
That's right, you do the back-to-back.
Yeah.
With myself, the PL2, and then into Kate's.
Which was a little scary to begin with, the idea
It's
of...
good for your endurance.
Well, I'm usually dead by your class anyway.
You did the repertoire.
I did.
Class that was last term.
I can't quite remember, yeah, somewhere towards the end of last year.
It was.
And at that stage, I think I was still only doing my usual sort of 2 classes a week. I hadn't taken that leap to doing more. And repertoire was, I guess, my entry into, let's see if I can physically handle doing a bit more. But also, I just loved the idea of having an opportunity to go back to what I had done as a child, you know, with troops and dancing with my fellow students.
It's one of my most beautiful memories from 2018, because you all made 3 teachers cry.
We did.
You did,
Yeah,
and you made us cry for really, really good reasons. It was just, I can't express the beauty, the incredible beauty of watching you all.
Most of your experience with us is in a class setting, going through our enchaînements, you know, in a quite routine manner. Is there something special about seeing us, I guess, putting it into practice?
Yeah, absolutely, because that's where I see your heart.
Yeah.
And you see everybody's heart. I felt like it was all of you giving us the gift as teachers. It was magnificent.
And each other, I think, you know, because it was choreographed in such a way that I really appreciate now, that I guess there were segments where maybe half of us were, you know, side stage, and we could watch our fellow students doing their section and getting to see, you know, what they could do and how they could work together. And
it was so clever.
it was wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kate.
Yeah. Okay, genius.
Yeah.
Let's get back to you and let's talk about the non-ballet Jess. I am quite curious about your professional life. I think it's a particularly because now the concept of mental health is spoken about so openly, more than it ever was when I was growing up, and thank heavens it couldn't be a moment later than it is. Your own mental health, how do you protect it?
Yeah, usually for me it's about finding my energy again rather than...
So how do you find it?
Yeah, making sure that I stay connected with friends is a big one.
Yep.
Making sure I am, doing all the different activities that bring me joy, and it's taken me a long time to figure out what they are. Yeah.
You're a self-confessed nerd?
Yeah, absolutely. So anything from the mechanical, but through to like your more typical arts and crafts. So creating, I don't know, anything really. So at the moment though, it's sewing. I've got back into sewing late last year.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that sense of accomplishment and achievement, and yet blending in creativity around deciding how I want things to look. And yeah.
Nice. So tell me something about you that people wouldn't necessarily expect and certainly don't know.
Well, other than obviously the history of having a stroke, which I think will surprise most people. That's surprising.
It's a pretty big one.
It's a big one. It probably ties in with this idea of being a nerd. So on one hand I have ballet and my other creative pursuits, but that also manifests in terms of I do quite enjoy playing computer games. So particularly strategic based, sort of your warfare, army style strategic computer games.
Not something I would have picked for you.
No, it's something that quite surprised and impressed my husband, I must say.
I bet. A gaming buddy.
It does, although he refuses to play my types of games because I win.
Because you win.
Yeah. So he sticks to his other games.
Jess, I can't tell you what a pleasure it has been to chat with you today. Thank you so much for sharing your time, sharing your story, and most importantly, thank you for sharing yourself with the Elancé community. You are such a gift to us, and I'm so grateful to have you as part of our beautiful world. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
No, thank you.